Welcome back to the Power Hour. Thank you so very much for joining us today. Thank you for caring about your world, your body. You know what we say at the Power Hour? Thank you for caring about your body and treating it like a temple, not a dumpster. We're joined by Colonel Joe today. Ladies and gentlemen, this man deserves so much credit for what he did back in the military time and now in the health time, believe it or not. He has done so much in the way of bringing some common sense information to us that we would have never known had he not put it in his book. The cure is in the food, which of course is what we believe in here at the Power Hour. Colonel Joe retired from the military, discovered the benefits of oxalic acid, and we're going to talk about that. Once it was identified as the acid which kills cancer cells without harming normal cells. We're going to find out what that is and how one uses it in their diet. And I got to say, Colonel Joe, thank you so very much for joining us on the Power Hour today.
Well, good morning. I'm glad to do it.
Well, we are glad that you have got a story to tell us about this because you've helped so many people already. I know you're even going to help more people for sure. This is a story that goes back a while, and it's ended up in your actually having incredible patents that go along with this. But let's talk about what happened to bring you to where you are today.
Okay. What happened was I had two little poodles. I was working at Martin Marietta in Denver. And one of the poodles got sick, and the vets couldn't figure out what was wrong with him and all. But his kidneys were being destroyed. And, of course, you know how people are about their pets. I even had a chemist from the university up north of Denver come down. He was in their vet school up there, and he looked at the dog, and, and of course he was no help. And eventually I was off on a trip. I was head of the quality assurance program for the Titan missiles being built there and launched on the coast. And I got a call from the wife at that time and told me that, he was really suffering. And so I said, okay, and, put him to sleep. Well, when I came back and I went to pay my bill, why, this professor, the veterinarian guy was there, and the bill was somewhere, in the $600-700 range, and he came over and he started to talk to me, and he says, Mr. Hart, he said, I know exactly how you feel. Well, he should have said that, because I told him how I felt. And I got all through, ripping them up one side and down the other, and the vets and the lousy medicines and schools. He said to me, well, there is one thing very damaging to renal tissue. I said, yeah, what's that? He said, oxalic acid. I said, what? He said, oxalic acid. I said, oh, okay. I left there and I went right back to the plant, went down to the quality assurance lab, chem lab, where they do all their chemical work and whatnot. And I grabbed the chemist and I sat him down and I said, hey, what in the hell is oxalic acid? Oh, he said, gee, Joe, he said, we use it up on the factory floor. We etch stainless steel with it.
Wow.
Let me repeat that. He said, we use it up on the factory floor. We etch stainless steel with it. I said, okay. Well, I left there, went back to the office, and, I thought, well, it wasn't anything like that, so I don't have to worry about it. Well, after, the time you take to get used to it, buddy, not jumping up in your lap when you have your beer when you come home from work. I'm sitting there one day. I also take the Organic Gardening magazine because I like to garden a little bit. I'm turning the pages, looking through this magazine, and boy, I come up short. Here is an article, and I can't remember the exact vegetable, but the article said, women who eat this, and I'll say spinach, for calcium do not benefit. The plant is high in oxalic acid.
Wow.
Boy, I sat straight up and I thought, what in the world? How could anything that's just stainless steel be good for you? So I called the Organic Gardening people back in Pennsylvania and got the gal who wrote the article, and we chatted, and boy, she told me all kinds of things, and she also told me about a program they had out at San Diego University on oxalic acid and kidneys and all that kind of stuff. Well, I did call the university out at San Diego and talked to them, but they weren't looking at it for the same reason, and more for kidney stones and that kind of stuff. So I, set about my work, and boy, one evening, and it was in summer, I'm sitting there after I come home from work and all, and watching TV and drinking a cool one, and I looked down at my leg, and I got a little bump there. It looked like a large pimple, and I scraped it and didn't pay much attention. About a week later, it's still there, only it's bigger. And I thought, what in the world's going on? And then, next issue of the Organic Gardening magazine, you talk about these things being just happenstance. I opened that magazine and started reading. All of a sudden, I'm reading about oxalic acid again. I'm reading about it being in all these plants, being in our blood. And, I had a tough time accepting that one. So, again, I start calling everybody around. And, boy, when I wound up, what happened was with that poodle, he was getting all little goodies, little Hershey bars and everything. Well, it built the acid up in his blood so bad, it destroyed his kidneys. That's what killed him. And then when I went away from it, that's when this growth started. Now, I didn't go and, into the doctors anywhere at the plant or anywhere else to have that checked. I just made up my mind that I was going to work with that thing and see what happened. Well, what I did, I got away from a lot of the acid that was in the foods. At the time the poodle's kidney was destroyed. And what I was looking at on my thigh sitting there was cancer, skin cancer. Now, I didn't go get that checked or anything, but boy, I did an awful lot of research. And what I did, I reversed my diet. I got away from all the oxalic acid when the poodle died. And when that growth started on my thigh, I went back to it. And boy, I got to tell you, I burned a lot of hours at night in libraries around any place I could find anything connected with oxalic acid or plants, and no doubt in my mind. Do you know right today, I'll give you an example. I forget when it was, but I think maybe it was 6 months, 8 months back. I went and, it being a retired military and whatnot, I went and sat in on a course back at the university here in Arkansas. And it was all about cells, sort of a beginning course for people going into biology. I went in there, and first I had a little problem with a professor to let me in, and I said, well, look, I understand. You're following the rules. I'm a military man. I appreciate that. I'll go talk to the chancellor. I think maybe I can convince him to let me in. Well, she decided since I was so eager to sit and listen to her, she'd let me in. Well, I got to tell you, from that experience, I don't know how anybody taking a biology course or in the university, anybody connected with it, can ever get any type of a degree or anything else, because not once or in any books. Boy, I searched the library there. That's how I found the one book I did. Was there anything said, or did I read anything that had to do with the amount of oxalic acid in the blood of warm-blooded mammals? Not once. Now, how can they give anybody in the university that graduate in their medical part? How can they give any kind of degree when that person don't know what's in their blood, the elements in blood?
Ooh, that is so important.